Let me introduce myself. Myself, Chandra. I have 14 years of experience in the Salesforce industry where I work for multiple projects, like on Sales Cloud, on Service Cloud, on the different clouds. And coming to the DevOps, I've been working for a long time, where I have more experience on certain number of tools like Copado, the real-time experience, and the Ant, the migration tool, and also on the deployments front on complete release management process, which I'm currently working, and also I have a lot of experience on those areas. So as a part of the series, we are going to talk more onto the Copado, the deployment tool. In that, we are going to talk the source format and also the metadata format, how we can build a pipeline from scratch, and how we can do the deployments using the Copado tool. Apart from Copado tool, we are going to talk what is the change management and the release management process, and also the version control thing, and also we are going to talk Azure DevOps with SFDX and also GitLab deployment with SFDX, which means that whatever the deployments that we are going to do using Copado, what if I was given Azure DevOps? What if I was given GitLab pipelines to build a pipeline and then do the deployment? So we are going to talk. So there are, I think, we are going to talk majorly on the Copado end-to-end, like from starting from scratch and then to the end. I mean to say each and every point we are going to talk in the Copado tool. And also, if you are new to Salesforce, we are going to talk the basics which are required for the Salesforce DevOps to get started. So I'm going to teach you a small thing where I don't want to go into a big thing on the day one, but I'm going to teach you I'll take one concept and then I'll try to explain you. Just give me 1 second. I'm trying to log into this instance system. All right, it is not allowing me to log in. At least I'll try to log into my Gmail and then see. All right, there is some problem with my account. I'll try to do something else. Last time I'll try this. Okay, so basically, if you go to LinkedIn and if you search for Salesforce DevOps role, right, you will find it out what exactly this role is, that how it is different from normal DevOps to Salesforce DevOps. It is completely different when it comes to the DevOps. When I say normal DevOps to DevOps means like in a real world, right? I mean, if you go back to the real DevOps, like if you want to do the deployments for Java or Boomi components, or if you want to do the deployments for any other platforms, right? They have a different set of process. Unlike Salesforce, it is completely a different process where there are some metadata types will be there, and there are some unsupported metadata types also will be there. So it is very different when it comes to the deployments front that we have. I mean, if you need to compare uh, the real Salesforce DevOps with the external one. Take a small example. In Salesforce, if you are aware of Salesforce, what exactly Salesforce is? It's a CRM tool, basically. Um, a small example I'm just trying to give you. Let's say you're trying to sell a SIM outside a mall, right? And then as a part of it, what you do a campaign. and then people comes to you and then they buy a SIM. That's where you get a lead out of it. And then by using that lead, you're going to convert that to an account and then contact. And then you can convert that into an opportunity, which means that whatever the sales process that you are trying to do it outside, that you're trying to do it manual. And if you want to put the same set of sales process inside Salesforce to see that how the sales process journey is there, right? You can do it. And also with respect to the sales process, if you buy a SIM and for that a service is required, which is nothing but a service cloud, which means that uh, you have taken a product called a GeoSIM and it has some problem. Then you will call a customer care to resolve your problem or you'll send an email. That's called a service cloud. So in Sales Cloud, it talks about the sales journey process. In terms of Service Cloud, it talks about the cases and contracts, digital signatures, etc. So everything this is online, right? So Salesforce has given you a standard set of features where you can make use of it. But if you want to go outside, like if you don't want to use the standard and if you want to go and use the custom, right, then you need to build something called customization, which means that you're not going with standard and you're going with customization, which means that let's say you take an example, small example, Excel. Let's say you have multiple environments. Okay. You have Dev Sandbox, you have INT, you have UAT, you have PPE, you have production. So these are sandboxes. This is production. Sandbox is nothing but if it is a non-production, then we call it a sandbox, which means that where you do the trials and practice and testing and whatever you develop everything in sandbox, then you later push to production. In Salesforce for sandbox, the URL is test.salesforce.com and or you'll have a custom login URL. For production, it is login.salesforce.com. So the first thing what you need to do is that you need to create one developer account for this to get started. So you can go to Google and then search for sign up for a developer account. Then you need to sign up a developer account for this particular course, where if you are new to Salesforce, you will understand once you log into the developer account, which I'm talking about the sales process and service process. If you go to the Salesforce instance, then you can see the sales journey process like campaigns, leads, contacts, accounts, opportunities, etc. When it comes to Service Cloud, you will see cases, cases, contracts, accounts, contacts, and service contracts. And there are some managed packages as well. For example, the same thing, if you take a mobile, in mobile, you will get some predefined things when you buy a mobile. What if you don't want to use the standard ones and if you want to go for a customization, then you go to Play Store and then you go and download a particular app. In the same way, here also same. In Salesforce, if you want to download something which is required for your project, then you go to App Exchange, then you can download a particular product, then you pay money for the particular App Exchange. Example, if you want to go with a digital signature, for example, let's say you have a sales journey process and you went and you deal an agreement and both of you want to sign an agreement. So in that case, you need a digital signature. For that, there is a DocuSign for Salesforce. There is an app for DocuSign for Salesforce, which is there an app exchange tool where you need to download and then you need to pay the money for the DocuSign team to get your license enabled. So that's called an app exchange. So that is completely different story altogether. So coming back to your topic, where as a part of the sales, I mean, as a part of this developer account, right? So you need to have your account created, then you can log into your Salesforce instance. So once you log into your Salesforce instance, then all your developer accounts are production accounts, which means that it is login.salesforce.com. And if you want to have a custom domain, for example, I don't want to have a test.salesforce.com for all the URL environments. I want to have a specific domain URLs. Then you can create some specific domain URLs called dev.sandbox.my.salesforce.com, something like that. You can create your ing.sandbox.my.salesforce.com, something like that. You can create your custom domain URLs as well, where Salesforce has given you an option as well, right? Now, coming back to how this deployment process comes into picture and why I need to do the deployment in Salesforce. So let's say in dev instance, you got a Jira story. For example, you take the same Jira story or whatever the tools that you have. If you have Asana or if you have ADO and if any of the tools that you have it, right? Let's say they have created a Jira story called Jira slash US-001. In that they have given you, they asked you to build a custom field because they don't want to go with the standard field. They want to have a custom field, which means that custom field is nothing but you have some standard fields. If you go to any other web page, if you go to Gmail or anything, right, you will have some fields. What if you want to customize this page? What if you want to have a new fields added to the page? Then that's called a customization. The standard one is something which is given by your product. But if you want to go outside and if you want to build something, that's called a customization. That's so here I'm taking an example of I'm building a custom field on the top of a page. So if I want to have a custom field, I'll go ahead and create a custom field in Salesforce. Then it is there in my dev instance. Now it's time for doing a deployment. So once I have it in Dev Sandbox, then I have to do a deployment for INT, UAT, PP, and production to have this custom field will be showing to my end user. So how do we do that? We have a lot of tools available in the market. So Salesforce itself has a tool, internal tool called ChainSet. But why ChainSet was not popular? Because ChainSets are something where you have a lot of restrictions, which means that you cannot see what is getting deployed. So they have given you a button called upload, where you just need to upload the list of components and then you click on deploy and create a package and then it will get deployed. It doesn't have any repository connection. It doesn't have a version control. You cannot see the components, what is getting deployed in terms of ChainSet. So then later, Salesforce was brought up a tool called Ant. So where you have a build.properties, build.xml file, and where in build.properties, you define that to which environment you're going to deploy. In build.xml, you're going to write functions like deploy and validate and quick deploy, etc., etc. But Ant is deprecated now. So you cannot use Ant anymore. So it's waste of time to talk about Ant, but Ant is a tool where you can do the deployments using Ant, but you can see that what is getting deployed, but Ant doesn't have an integration with GitHub or GitLab or any other version control. Then we have a workbench. Workbench is also same like Ant, where it doesn't have any repository connection. You need to create a package.xml and then you upload in Workbench and then you need to do a deployment using Workbench. So all these tools, it doesn't have any proper version. So later people started because of the project size increased. Well, let's say I have 10 people in my team and the 10 people want to commit a user story to dev and then they want to deploy it. So the common problem is overriding. Someone is overriding my component. Someone is overriding my components. So that is where you have a version control in picture where each developer has to commit the changes to Git and then Git will take care the respective changes to the next environment. So for that, we need to build a pipeline. So the tools that we have in the market later is Bamboo Jenkins. But Bamboo Jenkins is something you need to know the scripting, shell scripting to get started with the Bamboo and Jenkins. And we require a pure DevOps engineer to build that. But to perform a deployment, you need to have a Git installed and you need to understand Git, how it need to work, and then you need to do the commit changes, etc., using Git. But the problem starts here where developers are not ready and the business is not ready to learn Git. So that is where do we have any UI based tools? So that is where we have Copado comes into market. Copado is native to Salesforce, which means that you take the same example in mobiles. If you take one app, this app is compatible for Android. This app is compatible for iOS. In the same way, Copado is built on top of Salesforce, which means that Copado uses Apex language and it uses the same UI. So if you know Salesforce UI, Copado is very easy to use the UI. So it's a UI based. You don't need to install any Git. You don't need to install anything. So it's all the UI based where you build all the configuration, and then you can do the deployment to the next environments without writing a single piece of code. And you can do a lot of automations inside Copado. So Copado has two formats. One is metadata format and the source format, where you can do the deployments using both the formats, right? Now, after Copado, do we have any other tools that has a competition? Yes, we have a Flowsum, which is built on top of Salesforce. But the UI is little different compared to Copado. And we have other tools called AutoRabbit, which is built on top of Java. So it is something different compared to Copado and compared to uh, Flowsum. And also we have, after AutoRabbit, we have Gatesit. So we have a lot of tools coming in the market where they're based on UI based, which means that if you don't need to write any piece of code. It's all like people can do the commit as a part of user story, and then they can do the deployment very easily. So they're what they're doing. So Copilot is a tool they're integrating with Git, and they're using all the commands. Whatever we are doing, Git commit, Git push, Git pull, whatever the commands that we use in the real time, they have integrated those commands and they're giving you UI. So if you click on commit, the commit will get commit. I mean, the story will get committed and the changes will get committed, and then we can do the deployment. So what I'm trying to say is that there are a lot of tools available in the market where every tool has its own importance. But when it comes to Salesforce, right, the popular tools were Copado, and after that, the Gateset, AutoRapid, and following by Flowsum. So the license is a little bit costly when it comes to Copado, especially, and also with the Flowsum, also it's very costly in terms of licensing factor. For each user, you need to pay around 8,000 rupees per month, but per user. So it is a little bit costly compared to other tools. So why Salesforce has this DevOps? Because there are a lot of people who are working in Salesforce and they don't want the people to override the code. And in Salesforce, only few components are deployable. Few are not deployable, where you need to perform those things manually. Either you need to have a dedicated DevOps engineer to help with the deployments, because the developer will be working on his components and he doesn't have time to do the stuff, some of the things manual, like, or the data loading stuff that we need to do it as a part of a release management. So that is where this role was introduced in the market, and it has some demand in the market where people are looking for some kind of a support where this DevOps engineer is basically, basically his role is to do the daily deployments, and also he used to help the development team in resolving the conflict resolutions, how to resolve the conflicts, and also this DevOps person will help to complete the pre and post steps, pre-deployment steps, post-deployment steps. And also this DevOps engineer will help on onto the development team with respect to the data loading stuff. What are the sheets that they're given? This guy used to load the sheets to the respected environment. Because Salesforce itself, it is not supporting some of the things which can be deployable. So that is where you have to do manual. So that is where this role is open, and that is where you have a demand in the market. This guy is suitable. This guy is basically used to do all this stuff. So we have major number of projects. If it is one project where it has two people, then it is complete different picture. We can build one pipeline, we can give it to them. What if I have 10 people or 15 people in the team and I have to do the CI/CD process for them? So we need a dedicated people for that. So that is where this role is there.